All right. Hello, everyone. It is Doug Diamond here. Hope you're doing well. And it is, Sunday night, 10:07 p.m. on April the 23rd, 2023. Yeah, I hope you're doing well. And that report was pretty dark. Sorry to start out with such a low note there, but I thought it was very well done, as per usual with Greg Reese's reports. So very important information, and just note the period of time that we are in right now that he's talking about, where these ritual sacrifices can be, quote-unquote, enjoyed by our lovely and benevolent rulers. Of course, I'm joking. There's evil as evil gets. So, speaking of which, we covered in pretty good depth last week King Charles and my further beliefs that I think, Tim Cohen is really onto something. I do think that there's a really good chance he may very well be, meaning King Charles, may be the biblical Antichrist. And if you've not heard that before, please go back and listen to last week's show. Go back and watch it, because the evidence that Tim Cohen has put out there really for decades on this issue is really one of a kind, and no one else has this information that I'm aware of. So I do think he's onto something. And on that note, and speaking of the period of time that we're in now, looking at the fact that Charles is going to be, his coronation is on May the 6th, which is just a couple weeks. So it's not too far away. And I came across this, really just this article today, but I came across the video that goes with it several days ago and shared it with a few friends, and they were like, wow, unbelievable. So if you've not heard this, check this out. The Pope presents shards from the cross of Christ for King Charles's coronation. Yes, you read that right. Pope Francis has gifted fragments believed to be from the true cross on which Jesus was crucified to form part of a new processional cross, which will be used at the coronation of King Charles next month, which is just in a couple weeks. Again, May the 6th is a Saturday. The new cross, made from recycled silver along with Welsh slate and reclaimed wood. So you've got the green folks will be happy, right? Was a gift from the king to the church in Wales to mark its centenary in 2020. It will lead the coronation procession at Westminster Abbey in London on May 6th. Features two small shards from the relic donated by the Pope, which have been shaped into a cross behind a rose crystal gemstone. So, wow, isn't that insane? In a significant ecumenical gesture, the Cross of Wales will incorporate a relic of the true cross, a personal gift from the Pope, meaning Pope Francis, to His Majesty the King to mark the coronation. The church in Wales, a branch of the Anglican Church, said in a statement, the new Cross of Wales, which will be used in the procession during the coronation of King Charles, is seen before a service at Holy Trinity Church. After the coronation, the cross will be shared between the Anglican and Roman Catholic churches in Wales. Its design speaks to our Christian faith, our heritage, our resources, our commitment to sustainability. Anytime you see that word, that means the UN, which goes back to the British Crown. This Archbishop blessed the cross at a service on Wednesday in North Wales. We are delighted, too, that its first use will be to guide their majesties into Westminster Abbey at the coronation service. Charles has close links to Wales. As heir to the British throne, he held the ancient title of Prince of Wales, which that's what we talked about last week. Charles, Prince of Wales, according to Tim Cohen, and going back to the 80s and 90s when he was researching this, Charles, Prince of Wales, adds up to 666 in more than one language, which is unheard of. So he held the ancient title of Prince of Wales until he became king last September on the death of his mother, Queen Elizabeth. So anyway, there you go. And if you don't believe me, you can watch this. So we've got this video queued up here. This is Hugo Talks which you guys may have heard of him. So let's watch this short video here.
Hello, you're listening to Hugo Talk. So here is an interesting one. Pope gifts 2 fragments from the cross Jesus Christ was crucified on to King Charles so they can lead the new monarch's coronation procession. It says here 2 shards of the true cross, which is said to have been used in the crucifixion of Jesus Christ, were given to Charles by Pope Francis to mark his enthronement. The Vatican believes them to be authentic pieces of the true cross. Well, of course they do. Yeah, I mean, when it comes to the Pope and the Roman Empire, it's a bit like listening to NASA. They tell a lot of tall tales and they just expect you to believe them. These people are not who they claim to be. It's a facade. It's like these huge corporations, right? Giving money to charity is to distract from what they really are. It's something to hide behind. So this follows on from last November. Now, I didn't see this last November. So apparently this silver cross, which these shards of Jesus' cross are going to be put into, last November, at the Goldsmith Centre, Charles, it says here, put the king's mark into that cross. It says here, in November, the king became the first monarch to apply the king's mark, which is a leopard's head, by hand onto the cross, which is almost 50 centimetres tall and 25 centimetres across. It says here. Here's a clip.
So this is the actual cross we're going to mark now. So you can see with the planches in between. I'll line you up if need be. I'll help you place it if you wish. There we go. You want to let me move a little bit? That would do, yes. Yep. Perfect.
So there you go. The king's mark stamped onto the cross, a leopard's head. Interesting. A beast. The king's mark, now on the cross. They will also include shards from the cross that Jesus was crucified on now. A gift from the Roman Empire, gifting a part of the device they used to kill Jesus. I mean, it's not that I believe it is actually from the cross. Of course, I don't believe them, but it's just an interesting concept. Also, this coronation, right, is an Anglican ceremony. So it's a Protestant ceremony. And here we see the Catholic Church giving this gift to a Protestant ceremony, including themselves in a Protestant ceremony. Now, in history, of course, there are lots of problems between Protestants and Catholics, but this goes to show that those divisions and those problems and difficulties, they don't count when you look at the people at the top, right? Because as we've heard so many times, they are all part of the club. The division is not meant for them, it's meant for the people who follow these organisations. They are created to cause division, so they can then have order out of chaos. Because behind closed doors, they are all on the same side and can be all connected with their little trinkets and symbols, as in here, as in the Maltese cross. So yeah, the public, they can fight over who is Protestant and Catholic and who is right and who is wrong. But for them, they couldn't give a monkey's because they are all in it together. The whole setup is to keep you, the public, divided and against one another so they can rule over you. Also, I noticed this, the green man on these official coronation invites. Right down there at the bottom, you see the face of the green man. Very prominent, very obvious. So on one hand, we have what they claim to be a religious ceremony, including the Archbishop and the Pope gifting Jesus shards and some form of anointing oil as well coming from Jerusalem. But on the invitation, we have a green man. Green man is a pagan symbol. It's a festival. It's a May Day pagan festival. Here we have this coronation happening May the 6th. So it's timely. In the UK, they call it Jack in the Green, a festival that happens around the UK where a green man is led through the town and then symbolically murdered, right? The Jack in the Green was a man who covered himself in conical framework decorated with green foliage, concealing his body. He resembles a walking tree, a walking bush. The parades are riotous affairs, usually consisting of a king and a queen, or a lord and a lady, or the mayor, as well as the Jack in the Green, together with jesters, clowns, chimney sweeps and musicians. That's what they used to do. They still do it. And at the end of it, the Green Man is sacrificed, and there is a rebirth for summer, for the forthcoming summer. A bit like the Wicker Man type thing. So them putting this on the invitations is telling you this is not what it seems. It's not what they make it out to be. Of course, you remember the Queen, just prior to her coronation, she was involved in a Druid ceremony, where she was led by a Druidic high priestess, which the royal family attempted to censor. These people are not what they claim to be, as you should well know by now, if you are a regular watcher. These are counterfeit kings, okay? There is only one King of Kings.
Okay. All right. So thank you, Hugo Talks. Good stuff. So, and I know Hugo is a Christian. He professes to be, and I don't know that he has come out and said he believes that King Charles is the biblical Antichrist. I don't know on that. But I do find it very interesting. And again, if you look at the date in which this coronation is supposedly taking place, May the 6th, 2023. And I noticed this the first time I heard the date. That's the first thing I did was I added up the numbers. 5 plus 6 plus 2 for 2023. 2 plus 2 plus 3 equals 18, which is 666. So I don't think that is an accident. And let me know what you guys think. But yeah, it's pretty interesting what's on this invitation. And I've been saying for quite some time that I believe that the one world religion, when it happens, will be the green agenda. And look what is on King Charles's invitation. There he is, right there at the bottom, just like we heard. So, wow, pretty strange. So, yeah, and as far as the shards go, who knows if it's real? The point is, the church believes it's real, and maybe it is real. But the point is also that the fact that it does sound like something that the Antichrist might do. He put his stamp into the block, and notice that it was a leopard. The beast I saw was like a leopard, with the feet of a bear and the mouth of a lion. Revelation 13, 1 and 2. So, is that also a coincidence? That Charles's stamp or his mark that he put in that box with Jesus's cross shards in it was the head of a leopard. So again, all this symbolic stuff, symbology is the language of the occult, and this stuff is not an accident. So anyway, I wanted to bring you guys' attention to all that stuff first, because I felt like that was really more or less a continuation of last week's show. And we do have one other Tim Cohen video clip, probably about 10 minutes long or so, that if we have time, we'll play that as well. Because I do think it's important, and I've had some folks, some friends of mine ask about the pre-trib rapture, so this will address that. So we will look at that in just a little bit when we kind of come back around to it. But let's take a look at the news. All that stuff was very interesting and very, biblical Book of Revelation type stuff, but we're also going to look at the news tonight too, as we always do. Now, I saw this going back to the red dragon, also meaning Charles, who is that's the dragon that's on his flag. And then I saw this massive fire breaks out during performance at Disneyland in California. This happened, I think it was on the 22nd, happened yesterday. Massive fire broke out at Disneyland, California. On Saturday night during a performance, a giant fire-breathing Maleficent dragon on Tom Sawyer Island burst into flames during the Phantasmic Nighttime Water and Fireworks Show. During the final showing of Phantasmic, the final showing at Disneyland on Saturday, the dragon caught fire. The Anaheim Fire and Rescue responded quickly, and the fire was extinguished. So, pretty wild. And if you take a look here, there's a shot of him burning up. The red dragon on fire. Fire breaks out at Disneyland's Phantasmic performance. Now listen to this. 45-foot tall animatronic dragon caught fire on 4/22, which is 4 years, 11 months, and 11 days after the dragon caught fire at Disney World on 5/11/2018. Dragon float catches on fire during Disney World parade. Now there's a link to that article from ABC, and that is going back to May 11th, 2018. Look at all the 11s. So you have 4 years, and then 11 months and 11 days later, this one catches fire. But the first one happened on 5/11/2018, and if you add up 2018, you also get 11. So, pretty weird. But yeah, Charles, if he's the AC, on his coat of arms, on his heraldic achievement, we talked about it last week, the red dragon. And this happened yesterday, which was 4/22, which is exactly 2 weeks, 14 days before Charles is coronated and made king. Of course, he's already king, but he's officially king in 2 weeks. So that's another strange occurrence to me. Is it an accident? So anyways, yeah. So we have the YouTube channel, which most of you guys are already on and know about, which is Take It to the Lord in Prayer, which is the red block in the upper right corner up there. Take It to the Lord in Prayer. And again, most of you guys already know about that. But you can find me on Rumble at Diamond Disc and on BitChute as well, and Brighteon and on ClickView. So those are the different places you can find me. And but Substack is probably the main thing if you want to stay in touch as far as what I'm doing. And I mentioned that we have one other video here with Tim Cohen in talking about the AC and the pre-trib rapture idea. So I do want to look at that. I think we need to take a look at that video. I've got several other videos as well, but we're already at like almost 2 hours. So I really feel like I want to try and watch the time tonight as far as not getting too long-winded here. I don't want to keep you guys forever. And thank you guys for hanging out with me so far. So let's watch this video. And it's called Author Tim Cohen on Our Tribulation and How It Derives from Jesus' Crucifixion. So let's watch this. And otherwise, hope you guys have a really great week. And we'll close it out with this last video. I hope it's a blessed week. And feel free to stay in touch if you guys want to reach out. You can comment on any of the videos on any of the platforms. I will most likely see it. Or if you're on Substack, you could just reply to any of the emails that I shoot out there, and you can reach me that way. I've had a number of people do that. So thanks. Yeah, let me know what you guys are researching. I like to try to incorporate that a little bit into what we talk about on these broadcasts. Before we leave, I forgot we have a couple other comments. Let me take a look. Kathy says, Doug, do you have an opinion on Jonathan Cahn or his books? Just curious. I've not read any of his books. I'm familiar with him. I've seen him on a couple different shows. I've seen a video recently of him. And I won't say that I distrust him or that I trust him completely. I really don't know. I don't really have enough information about him. I know he's a professing Messianic Jew, I guess, right? So I don't know. I mean, I would say, like anything else like that, if you have your concerns, they're probably not unfounded. If you trust him completely, then I think, like anything, take it to the Lord in prayer. I mean, maybe you should be cautious. I don't really know. I don't really have an opinion on him. I'm not really pro or anti as far as Jonathan Cahn goes. I do know that he has a massive following, so I think that kind of says a lot. I mean, you know, to have a massive following, you probably are saying things that appeal to people's ears, ear tickling, if you know what I mean. Kelly says, thanks and God bless. And Emily does too. And like Khan in his Harbinger books, Kelly says, okay, good. So that's a plus for Jonathan Cahn. Yeah. So I don't really know. I mean, he may be a great guy. I really have no idea. I've not really listened to enough of him to have that much of an opinion. So if you guys want me to check out any of his stuff, I saw a video of him within the last week or two. But I really don't watch him. I don't know why. It just doesn't really appeal to me for some reason. You know, like you're drawn to some people, and other people you kind of like, I don't really care what they say that much. But maybe I should care what they say. And maybe he's one of those guys. So let me know, you guys, if you have any videos you've seen of him that he's done that he is just amazing information. Feel free to send it to me. So yeah, this is Tim Cohen. This is let's see here. This is him talking about what did I say? Our tribulation derives from Jesus' crucifixion. Now this is, I think I've isolated a spot here. It's a long video, but we're only going to watch about 10 minutes of it. And he's talking about the pre-trib rapture, which I think is important. This has come up in a discussion or two I've had with some folks. And I do think it's important, and he makes some really, really good points in this. So again, hope you guys have a blessed week. We will wrap it up after this video then, but feel free to stay for this. I think it's a good one. So hope it's a good one. Talk to you guys again very, very soon.
Pre- and mid-tribulationists, to a lesser extent, pre-wrath rapturists, and I won't go into all the details on that. You will find that information, all of this, and a whole lot more, covered in the volume dealing with the book of Revelation, the apocalypse, and the timing of the rapture in my upcoming Messiah History and the Tribulation Period series. You can get enough of this in my teaching called The Real Rapture on CD or DVD. That's been out for a long time. You can get that already. But here's the thing. There are a lot of people out there today, right now, who are looking at this stuff with Charles and saying, could he be the Antichrist? But he can't be because we're still here. They're literally saying what I said in 2010 and in 2005 and 2002, I think I came the first time, whenever it was. They're literally now saying what I said people would be saying word for word. They're saying this can't be the Antichrist because we're still here. Right after they say, looks like it could be Charles, but we can't know. And the next thing they'll be saying soon is, this can't be the mark because we're still here. That hasn't happened yet, but it will soon. So I want you to understand that, because it's a primrose path that they're led down to the point where they become the hypocrites. Okay? These people are going to have a choice to make. They're going to have to say, okay, I've been misinformed. He obviously is the Antichrist. I need to re-examine Scripture, I still believe. Or they're going to say, you guys lied to me. I'm here. This guy looks like the Antichrist. You didn't have that right, when you assured me that I wasn't going to be here to go through this nasty stuff in the world, the tribulation week. How can I trust you on the rest? Right? Maybe it's the mark, maybe it isn't. Maybe you got to believe in Jesus to be saved, maybe you don't. Maybe this is stuff you can read about in other religions, the bad stuff that's happening in the world, because I don't quite get how it fits perfectly into Scripture. They'll rationalize, and they'll apostatize, and then they'll take the mark of the beast, because they'll say this can't be the mark initially. Or maybe they'll take the mark, and then later on they'll realize it's the mark of the beast. Then what do? Right? We all think they're condemned, that that's the end for them, biblically. And it should be, okay? But there actually is one option, and that's to physically excise it from the body and fall upon the mercy of God. Does that mean that they'll be saved at that point? No, it doesn't. It means there's more possibility that God might have mercy on them rather than slaughter them. But it's not guaranteed. Okay? That's what he says. Cut off the hand if it offends, toss it from you, right? Pluck out the eye. If it offends, toss it from you. It's better that a member of your body should perish than that your whole body should be cast alive into hell. Right? Or that your whole soul, right? That your soul and your body should perish in hell. Okay, let me get to this. So, I wanted you to understand that the timing biblically is post-trib. I'm going to give you 2 verses, and then I'm going to do this in about 2 minutes. This won't take long, and you'll find more on my presentation. So you can look on my YouTube channel, author Tim Cohen, go to the playlist for the subject of the Antichrist, and you'll see some interviews where I've talked a bit more about this in some of those interviews. And obviously there'll be a lot more in my books, like the Antichrist Captivity 2nd edition. You'll want to read that. So Revelation 10, verses 6 to 7. The last trumpet in Scripture is that trumpet, the 7th trumpet. It sounds for a period of days. It's the only trumpet that sounds so long in Scripture. At Rosh Hashanah, or the Day of Trumpets, it's not actually Feast of Trumpets, it's Day of Trumpets biblically. The final trumpet is called the Tekiah Hagadol, the Great Shofar, or the Great Blast. It sounds for a period of days. It's the only trumpet in the Bible that does. Okay? In the days of the voice of the sounding of the 7th angel, that's Revelation chapter 10, verses 6 to 7. There's a mighty messenger who has the attributes of deity who makes that announcement. That mighty messenger is Christ himself. He's not a created being. Okay, this is the Lord himself, and he's announcing the sounding of that final trumpet. He says the mystery of God would be completed as he preached the gospel to his bondservants, the prophets. That phrase, preach the gospel, you'll only find that in the Roman Catholic translation, in English translations for the most part, which is a weird thing, right? Because they're a cult. But that phrase, preach the gospel, is in every Greek manuscript in Revelation 10, 6 to 7, but it's absent from our English translations, most of them. It's important because if you know that trumpet in Revelation 10 was preached beforehand in the Gospels, you have to ask yourself, okay, where is that trumpet in the Gospels? And there is only one option, and that's the trumpet that Christ said he would return with his angels, right? And as soon as a pre-tribulationist sees that, out the window goes pre-trib. Same thing with a mid-tribulationist, okay? I won't get into all the details of that. It's covered in my teaching, The Real Rapture. Last thing I'm going to tell you before I go into this, Revelation 10, write this down, Revelation 16, verses 10 to 15. The fifth and sixth bowls of wrath. With the fifth bowl of wrath, the kingdom of the beast is cast into darkness. That starts with Revelation 16, verse 10. This is explicitly God's wrath. When you're getting into the bowls of wrath, it's his fury, right? Okay. If, when the seventh trumpet starts to sound, the saints are resurrected or translated, and they are, they already have their eternal bodies before the bowls of wrath are outpoured. Meaning they cannot be harmed by those bowls of wrath, even if they're still present on the earth while they're being outpoured. They're supernaturally protected by God. With the fifth bowl of wrath, the kingdom of the beast, which is global, is cast into darkness, right? All the nations are going to be following after the beast. When he's got his kingdom, it's covering the whole world, right? So if the kingdom of the beast is cast into darkness, we know that the world is cast into darkness. It's fifth bowl of wrath. With the sixth bowl of wrath, as the nations are gathering for the battle of Armageddon, the battle of Megiddo, something gets inserted there by Christ. He says, "Behold, I come as a thief." What's the context? He's coming as a thief in the night. There's no pre-tribulationist and no mid-tribulationist who would tell you, and no pre-wrath rapturist, who would tell you that the gathering for Armageddon is before the end of the tribulation period. Nobody believes that. Enough of them would even tell you it might be post-trib. The gathering for Armageddon might be right after the tribulation period ends, which would actually be the correct view. It's early in the first year of Christ's 1,000-year reign. There are two kingdoms on earth at that point. The global kingdom of the beast and the kingdom of Christ in direct conflict. But my point is, the Lord is telling us between Revelation 16, verses 10 to 15, when he's coming as a thief in the night, and it's undeniably post-tribulational. And guess what? Doesn't that fit the pattern of the weeks that we talked about? Death at the midpoint of the week, resurrection at the end of the week. All patterned after the crucifixion, death, burial, and resurrection of Christ. The point of his testimony, that part of it, what's that got to do with prophecy? What I've just explained. Only it's much more granular. It's day for day. It's not just the middle of the week and the end of the week. It's all 7 days, as I show in that harmony of weeks in the Messiah history in the tribulation period. So, real quick, on this coat of arms, which is that of Prince Charles of Wales, it'll have some minor modifications if they change it at all for him as king. It's got the red dragon of Revelation 12 and 13, same one historically, right here. A unicorn with human eyes. Daniel 7, the Antichrist who rules for 3.5 years, is not identified with the same imagery that you find in Revelation 13. Instead, that Antichrist in Daniel 7 is identified as a little horn with human eyes, right here. Okay, a unicorn with human eyes in context in Babylonia. Revelation 13, beast with feet like a bear, body like a leopard, mouth like a lion. Similes, like. It's not precisely the feet of a bear, not precisely the body of a leopard, not precisely the mouth of a lion. It's like in the verse. As it turns out, if you see the graven coat of arms, which I'll show in the second edition, because now I have photos of them. And in fact, you can see them in the interview I did with Janie Duvall, because they show it, but it's not that close up, like what I'll be showing. At any rate, the point is on the graven coat of arms, which are like cast iron, but they're actually plaster painted to look like cast iron. It actually is bear's claws on those. And the lion's body looks similar to that, mouth like that, in both of those versions that you find over the castle where he was invested, Prince of Wales. Okay, so Christ is the Lion of the tribe of Judah. Christ is the horn of David. He's a conquering unicorn. Christ was the serpent lifted up on the pole in the wilderness, right? We don't usually make the connection that that's a red dragon. And if it weren't for Revelation 12, we might not make the connection that the serpent who deceived Eve in the Garden of Eden is a red dragon. Satan was a red dragon. The serpent who deceived Eve in the Garden of Eden, Satan, is explicitly identified as a fiery red dragon in Revelation 12. It's that same red dragon that gives this beast his power, throne, and great authority, whereby he rules for 3.5 years subsequently. Okay? That was the central symbol at Charles' investiture in July 1969 as Prince of Wales. Prince of the Red Dragon. It had been adopted in 1953 as the national symbol of the nation of Wales. He was facing it, and his mother was facing it, and it was encircling them on the castle walls at Caernarvon Castle, when the coronet was placed on his head to coronate him Prince of Wales, or Prince of Satan. Prince of the Red Dragon. There's an awful lot more to that. There's a lot more in the second edition of the book than in the first. I want to point that out. It's his title, Charles, Prince of Wales, that calculates the 666 on the biblical numbering system in multiple languages. Mathematically, and I say biblical system because the Greek text of Revelation 13:18, which tells us to do the calculation, identifies the system for the calculation. We're not free to invent one or to contrive one, which is what Christians have typically done. They've made a mistake doing that. We're not authorized biblically to do that. On the biblical system, the title is 666 in more than one language. Mathematically, statistically, it's not possible, but it's a fact. The person has to have the imagery, and then they have to have the calculation in that order. If any of that's missing, they're not the Antichrist and can't even be considered possibly to be the Antichrist. Charles is the only human being in history to have the imagery, and as you can see, it counterfeits directly the things of Christ. It counterfeits who Christ is. Okay? I wanted to get to more tonight, but I am out of time, and so I got to stop and watch the interview with Janie Duvall. You can find it on my YouTube channel. It's the top video under the Antichrist list. You will see that Charles this year not only became King of England, but he led the British Commonwealth, roughly a third of the world's population. He oversaw it, them worshiping a giant bull at a New Age ceremony and inviting the world to participate in that with a reconstructed Tower of Babel, and at the end of the ceremony there's a serpent coiled shown in the tower itself. And then the all-seeing eye of Lucifer literally rising atop that is the head of the serpent right over the Tower of Babel. And the bull facing it in a beam, a clustered beam of six beams, clustered set of 6 beams of light going between the chest of the bull, one beam being a humanoid figure, which is weird, between the chest of the bull and that all-seeing eye over the top of the tower. And it was nighttime at that point. A third of the world's population invited to participate in that. The bull was 10 meters high. And a woman rode the beast. A New Age woman rode this mechanical beast. You'll see that in the interview that I did with Janie Duvall at the end, the whole thing. It's an 18-minute segment. Watch the whole interview, though, the full thing. And you'll see more information on the coat of arms, more information about Charles as king. The fact that he's a Muslim, a lot of people don't know that. He's got an honorary doctorate in Islamic studies. He claims to be a descendant of Muhammad. He claims to be a descendant of King David. He does descend from the ancient Assyrian, Babylonian, Roman kings, every royalty that's of significance in Europe. In fact, I think all of them. The ancient Egyptian pharaohs, etc. He is the prince of this world, genealogically. He's actually of the tribe of Dan, though. Rather than being necessarily of King David's line, he is a Danite. That's significant. I won't get into it now. You can look that up, why that's relevant with regard to the Antichrist. But he is the Antichrist, the one who's going to be over global government and be possessed by the devil as the next son of perdition. The first one was Judas Iscariot. The final one is the Antichrist. Judas betrayed Christ for his crucifixion. The Antichrist, betrays the nation of Israel for Israel's national crucifixion, and likewise betrays the church. One final thought. How is it that the Anglican Protestant Church, to which the Episcopalian Church and some others are affiliated, has now put the Antichrist over it? They now have the Antichrist as the quote-unquote head, the titular head on earth of that church. Something is very off spiritually. And not just with that church. Likewise, all these people thinking Queen Elizabeth II was a Christian. She was not. She was a Satanist. Anti-Christian Satanist from the time that she was a young princess. Photos proving that and evidence are given in the second edition of the Antichrist and Captivity. I'm not just saying it. There's photographic proof. So with that, I have to stop. Brother, my time is way past up. Thank you. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so I know I said that was the last video I was going to play tonight, but like the CDs that I've produced for people over the years, they would have hidden tracks on them. So you'd finish the last song and maybe a minute would go by or 10 minutes of blank space would go by, and then you'd hear the last song. That's what we're doing tonight. This is a hidden track. We're going to have 2 hidden tracks. I've got a couple more videos here, so if you stay tuned this long, then we've got a couple more videos, and let's check these out. This is one of them is a talk from Jay Dyer talking about Aldous Huxley, and I'm going to follow that up with a short little clip here from David Icke. David Icke reveals a shocking truth about billionaires and the money system. So we've got our extra bonus tracks for tonight are Jay Dyer, and then follow that up with David Icke. So I hope you enjoy, and thanks again, you guys. Talk to you later.